What's up, Mets fans? It's your boy CP, and welcome back to the latest edition of the True Mets Talk podcast. We're going to be talking about Mets roster competition trends here very early into spring training. We're going to be going into the bench and the bullpen and talking about a couple roster spots that these players are vying for here as we move closer and closer to opening day. If you missed the last live stream going over the Mets and Yankees game as a recap, I had Talking Mets with Rob on as we did a little bit of an impromptu stream to announce our latest collaboration upcoming for 2024, the Amazing Mets pregame show live starting on opening day. We'll be giving series previews, game previews, and a whole lot more, everything related to the New York Mets will be streamed to both of our YouTube channels. I cannot wait for that, for you all to be a part of that. It's going to be interactive, it's going to be collaborative, and it's going to be very fun as this Mets season approaches and progresses every single day, talking New York Mets on the channel. So likewise, knowing that, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. As you're watching this bottom right hand corner, the icon, hit that subscribe button, comment your thoughts and opinions, and make sure you all are hitting that thumbs up button. I thoroughly appreciate the support. Likewise, check out all your channel membership options and join the channel membership today. We got two great offers, the True to the Orange and Blue membership and the We Bleed Orange and Blue membership with their respective perks. I definitely appreciate the support in that regard. And as you can tell, I have a little bit of my hat collection upgrade. The Savannah Bananas hat is making its debut. Last stream I did on the channel, it was the Beast from Sandlot hat debut. And my most recent acquisition, courtesy of New Era, is going to be my all black Mets trucker hat. I can't wait to break that out on the stream as well. Without further ado, let's get into some Mets baseball.
You are now watching the True Mets Talk podcast, talking New York Mets baseball 24/7, 365 with your host, CP.
With the shallow right field, stumbling start for Stewart. That's drilled to deep left field by Alvarez, and that's going to go in 4 straight games for the second time in he's homered in 4.
All right, let's get into it. A couple of disclaimers here before we talk about what's on your screen. I am recording this on March 6th. This episode is not going to be released to the public and you all probably until March 7th. Obviously, here on March 6th, we were supposed to have a Mets spring training game that got canceled. But nonetheless, we are here talking about New York Mets baseball, even given the off day. I have talked about these topics on the channel before even spring training started, and I'm going to be talking about it here today, but this is not the last time I'm going to be talking about it. I'm going to be talking about it a couple of weeks in advance as spring training progresses closer to opening day and talking about it in a more quantitative manner in the future. Right now, we're only 10 games into spring training. Pitchers have only had a couple of outings, maybe 2 to 3 innings under their belt, and hitters only have about 8 to 10 at-bats under their belt. So if I delve into all the statistics right now, it's going to be some skewed results. I can promise you that. So I'm here to talk about this episode a little bit more in terms of a qualitative and eye test kind of manner. And we'll get into the X's and O's, the statistics later on as opening day nears. But let's talk about very briefly the bench and the bullpen, starting with the bench. Obviously, you have your mainstays, the names in orange, Tyrone Taylor, Omar Narvaez, and Joey Wendell. Who is going to get that last bench spot to open up this 2024 season on the opening day roster? Now, these are my shoo-ins to make the roster, barring any unforeseen changes like a trade. A lot of smoke has happened, and a lot of people on my channel have talked about a potential Omar Narvaez trade, given the Mets still have Tomas Nido in the minor leagues. I don't think anything is going to happen on that front. Not sure which team would even want Omar Narvaez, but he is a nice lefty to have to back up Francisco Alvarez, that righty. And this bench and this topic that we're talking about is all about lefties and righties regardless. So that is something that I think keeps Omar Narvaez around. Tyrone Taylor obviously is going to be a versatile outfielder. He is impressing very early on to spring training. Got a couple base knocks under his belt, and his defense looks absolutely elite. Can play all 3 outfield positions. So I can't wait to see what sort of role he's going to have, especially waiting to see how the health of Starling Marte holds up. I think he's going to have a lot bigger of a role, Tyrone Taylor that is, than most people expect. And obviously, Joey Wendell, your super utility infielder, might hinder a potential roster spot being given to a Rylan Bannon, who's impressed here very early on, hitting 364 with a couple base knocks and nice defense. Same thing with Jose Iglesias, the veteran journeyman, who's had a nice start to his spring training. I don't think those infielders, despite them starting off pretty much at a great level here early on to spring training, I think Joey Wendell is going to be your mainstay. That's why I have those three names in orange. But let's talk about a guy like Trayce Thompson that is going to provide DJ Stewart immediate competition for that last bench spot. A lot of people talking about DJ Stewart being that platoon bat at DH with Mark Vientos to open up 2024. Now, I understand that that probably is still the line of thinking that the Mets want to go with, especially with what DJ Stewart provided in a short sample size in 2023. But if the Mets are confident in Mark Vientos being that almost everyday type DH bat, you can afford to put a righty as your second righty on the bench, which paves the way for a Trayce Thompson who's hitting 500 so far early on to spring training, couple base knocks, couple home runs, and is thought to be a versatile outfielder as well in the prime of his career at 32 years old. Now, if the Mets want to prioritize maybe that lefty DH, even still, DJ Stewart isn't safe for that roster spot because he does have that minor league option attached to him, and Ji-Man Choi, a proven hitter at the major league level, most recently of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and before that for 4 years for the Tampa Bay Rays, is right there in the thick of things as well. I like Ji-Man Choi and what he provides as a backup first baseman, and I like what he provides at the plate with subtle power. We saw a home run already for Ji-Man Choi, but also a very good eye at the plate. He's not going to expand the zone, and he's going to get on base with walks when the pitchers give it to him. Now, like I said, DJ Stewart has gotten off to a slow start, as has Brett Baty and Mark Vientos. So this merry-go-round of the third base competition and the revolving door of how it affects the last bench spot is going to be interesting to see. Like I said, I'm not jumping to any conclusions. For me, it's all about process over results right now. We can go over results maybe in the last week of spring training when we have a lot more sample size to go along with all these names that you see on your screen. Now, a guy like Alex Ramirez, who I don't even have here on this graphic, actually survived the first round of cuts. We saw Luis Angel Acuna option to AAA, names like Drew Gilbert, Jet Williams, and all of the other prospects reassigned to minor league camp, but we saw the name of Alex Ramirez remain untouched. Now, I do think it's a very big long shot that Alex Ramirez makes this team over someone like a DJ Stewart or even a Trayce Thompson if those guys are battling out for this last bench spot. But nonetheless, it's something to be said for him not being reassigned. Him, I guess, needing to show that he belongs in this organization. Has had a great spring training back in 2023 before he inevitably faltered during the 2023 season in high A ball. And he's having a nice little 2024 spring training here, batting 400 in the early goings. Alex Ramirez is a long shot, I understand, but keep an eye out on his name as well. We'll see how the Mets prioritize things, but you see righty, lefty, lefty. Are the Mets going to carry three lefties on that bench, or are they going to give this spot to one of these righties on your screen? Primarily at this point, I would say maybe a Trayce Thompson, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Like I said, we are only 10 games in. And guys, I understand this is something where I am talking about this with only 10 games of spring training. I know there's not many things that we can base this off of, but these spring training games do mean something in the end. We are starting to notice trends, and we are starting to notice these competition spots and these trends ramp up for this team. And this is something that's got me excited for opening day. That's just 3 weeks away, and seeing what the Mets have, not only for your mainstays and the names in orange here on both sides of your screen, but also all the depth pieces that are vying for those spots and that will be available in the minor league system to come up and take the place of people who are underperforming or get injured. Now, let's shift over a little bit to the bullpen. You see also in orange your mainstays: Edwin Diaz, Brooks Raley, Adam Ottavino, Lopez, Jorge Lopez, and Jake Diekman. I know Jorge Lopez and Jake Diekman have got out to a little bit of rocky starts, but nonetheless, they are in mainstays, and I think that they are shoo-ins for this bullpen. I wanted to make Shintaro Fujinami's name in orange here, but for the simple fact that He had an unfortunate circumstance with his visa. We haven't seen his Mets debut yet, coupled to the fact that he was a wild card last year in his rookie season. Statistics-wise, I am going to put him and leave him in blue here, although I do think he's going to get that roster spot in the bullpen. He has electric stuff. Not only Carlos Mendoza has had high words for Shintaro Fujinami, but the pitching coach, the man in charge of this Shintaro Fujinami project, Jeremy Hefner, is also raving about the upside of Shintaro Fujinami, so I'm expecting very big things. Obviously, he was scheduled to make his debut here in spring training on March 6th. Game got postponed. That will be going down on March 7th against the Nationals, and I will be live right after the game, so we'll talk about Shintaro Fujinami's appearance on the channel as well. A couple of other names here, as you can see. I'm starting to notice a trend here with the guys that David Stearns brought in to be depth pieces. They're looking pretty good early in spring training. Austin Adams being one of those guys. Michael Tonkin as well. Both of these names probably aren't going to make the opening day roster, but to know that you have them as depth in AAA is something that takes a huge immense pressure off of this Mets organization. Say an injury happens, or maybe a Drew Smith, who I think is also going to be on the opening day roster, but has maybe a little bit of short of a leash. If he struggles, you have options now that David Stearns has brought in to sort of solidify this bullpen, and not just the mainstays in the back end of the bullpen, but also the early innings guys like you see here in blue. Now, speaking of Drew Smith, I do think he's going to get that roster spot. We've only seen one inning of him so far in spring training, but the location still is a big question mark with Drew Smith. The fastball that he likes to leave elevated or middle, and those hangers of breaking pitches that he throws to hitters. Is this going to change with Drew Smith? He is the longest tenured pitcher on the Mets roster right now, but that means nothing. I'm expecting him to have a short leash, and you have a lot of Mets fans and Mets content creators already thinking that his spot on opening day isn't safe within itself, with the emergence of names like Nate Lavender, like a Sean Reed Foley, who, by the way, struck out the side and was at 97 topping out on the gun, was Sean Reed Foley. This is great to get an understanding of how deep this Mets bullpen is. This is what I like to see early on in spring training. I know I'm talking about the opening day roster right now, but just knowing all the options that are present so far for the New York Mets is very, very refreshing. Now, obviously, this bullpen is going to be influenced by what happens in the starting rotation as well. We'll talk about Tylor Megill here on the next slide, but you also have Jose Butto and a name that hasn't made his debut yet and will also do so on March 7th against the Nationals, Joey Lucchesi. Right now, I would have to say Tylor Megill is a shoe-in with how he's performed so far in spring training. That's an obvious. But what's not an obvious is how the Mets are going to approach the pitching standpoint of this roster come opening day. As we all know, the New York Mets and every other team in the MLB only has 13 roster spots that are allocated and reserved for pitchers. So they can go out there and deploy a 5-man rotation and have 8 bullpen slots available, or they can go out there and deploy a 6-man rotation and only have 7 roster spots available. That is going to have a heavy impact on who gets these last couple of roster spots for the bullpen. If I had to guess, an initial preliminary, probably too early to tell guess here on what the Mets are going to do. I think they start off on paper with 5 opening day starters and 8 bullpen guys, because one of those bullpen guys can be your long man / spot starter in that 6th spot in the rotation. And that's where you're talking about a Joey Lucchesi or a Jose Butto. It also depends the lefty-righty matchups. You already have 2 lefties in this bullpen in Brooks Raley and Jake Diekman. Are they going to prioritize Joey Lucchesi as a 3rd lefty in the bullpen? And we haven't even talked about Nate Lavender as well, who's exploding onto the scene. We've heard Nate Lavender's name thrown out there, relatively young, 24-year-old prospect, but still he needs to figure out his role in this organization sooner rather than later. Maybe that's where Drew Smith's short leash kicks in. If Drew Smith struggles out in 2024 very early on, will David Stearns hesitate to pull the plug and put in a pitcher like a Sean Reed-Foley or a Nate Lavender to give them the opportunity? All things to watch out for here in spring training, not necessarily about the results and the statistics, but how these players are performing at face value with their stuff. Nate Lavender, we know who he is. He's not the same as Drew Smith. Drew Smith pumps 97, 98 with the fastball, bad location. Nate Lavender, on the other hand, from the left-handed side of the mound, 91 to 92 tops with the fastball, but can locate those pitches extremely well and has proven to be effective here in the very short sample size. This is something that I'm very excited about. And you see on the bottom of your screen on the right-hand side, and more. Because these names in blue are not the only options the Mets have going into 2024 and through the longevity of 2024. Cole Sulser, 3 scoreless innings so far, has looked good. Yaxel Rios has looked phenomenal with a 98-mile-per-hour fastball, tossing a couple of scoreless innings. Yohan Ramirez, 3 scoreless innings under his belt as well, although I know he looked a little bit shaky to close out that Mets-Yankees game a couple days ago, but he's been impressive. A lot of other names in this bullpen that David Stearns has brought in and sort of accumulated that's making me very, very happy and very excited to see how this bullpen progresses, because this takes a very big load off of the starting pitching rotation, a very big pressure and weight off of these starters' shoulders. Because if you have this deep of a bullpen, starting pitchers know that going 5 innings, although not preferred, is okay as long as you keep the ball game intact. 6 innings, 7 innings is a cherry on top, but with how the Mets bullpen is shaking out from bottom to top or top to bottom, however you want to say it, this is inspiring a lot of confidence from me. So we'll continue to monitor this. If I had to guess, the 5 names in orange for the bullpen are your shoo-ins. Shintaro Fujinami gets a spot. I believe Drew Smith gets a spot, for better or for worse. We'll see. And I do believe Joey Lucchesi is going to be that long man / spot starter to open up 2024 with Jose Butto going back down to the minor leagues. I know Jose Butto has been impressive. I like his stuff, but he is also a guy that can come in if an injury happens or if Joey Lucchesi is not performing. He also can come in as a candidate internally and has that sample size to go along with him, not only in spring training looking impressive, but also toward the tail end of 2023 came up and made an immediate impact. This is a fun discussion to have. I'm so excited. But let's talk about the man of the hour. I'm posing the question to you all. Who has impressed you as the viewer the most? And I know my answer because he's on the screen right now. Tylor Big Drip Megill has impressed me so much so far. I know in his first outing, hit by pitcher or hit by pitch right away, hit a batter, couple walks to his name you see on your screen here, but overall, the statistics, and not even just going beyond the statistics, because it is what it is. 8 innings pitched, 1.13 ERA, and 13 Ks over those 8 innings pitched is great, but how does he look out there? What is his comfort level, his confidence looking like? The changeup in his last outing was working. The curveball was looking good. The location on his fastball was looking phenomenal. And we still need a larger sample size from that quote unquote spork new pitch that he has in his arsenal. But Tylor Megill looks good. Now, am I going to say that he's back? I'm not, because this is spring training at the end of the day, and we know what the trend is with Tylor Megill. Starts off the season very well, has benefited from injuries in the past, is a pitcher that has been back-to-back opening day starters for the Mets in the last 2 seasons. Could it be a third? We talk about Jose Quintana and Luis Severino as your opening day starters, potentially, but Tylor Megill also is not to be forgotten about. But how does Tylor Megill progress throughout the course of 162? Can he stay healthy? Can he stay consistent? And the biggest thing that always worries me about Tylor Megill when he gets onto that mound is efficiency. In recent years, innings pitched for him have been very laborious. Is that even a word? I don't even know if that's a word, but very non-efficient. You know what I mean. We'll have 5 innings pitched for Tylor Megill already out of the ball game because he has 100+ pitch count. Can he bring the pitch count down? Can he finish off batters with strikeouts more efficiently than in years past? That is the key to Tylor Megill's success in my eyes. The pitch arsenal is there. To me, starting off spring training, the confidence is there. But how does the consistency play out over the course of the full season? Only time will tell. But it's nice to see that we have Tylor Megill starting off 2024 spring training with a bang with what you see on your screen here. Let me know, though, who's impressed you so far? If you had to pick one player in spring training, who has impressed you? There's a couple of names that I can throw out there. Obviously, Trace Thompson's a candidate. But for me, with how badly the Mets need Tylor Megill to open up the season successfully in lieu of the Kodai Senga injury, I like what I see so far. So I appreciate you all watching. This has been the end of the episode. Like I said, we're going to be talking about the Mets spring training, I guess, synopsis a couple of weeks down the line from now. We're going to be throwing a lot more statistics at you, at your way. I wanted to keep it qualitative. Statistics and results right now are great, but we're only 10 games in. How does the eye test seem to you all as Mets fans? It's about the eye test right now, the comfort level, the confidence level. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. As always, guys, shameless plugs to end the podcast episode. Become a member of the channel. Don't miss out on all the special perks. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't done so already. Subscribe. Doing a channel giveaway once the channel reaches 600 subscribers. I'll be giving out CPNYSports merchandise as well as part of that giveaway. So make sure you're subscribing as soon as we get to 600 subscribers, that's going to be going down on the channel. And likewise, comment your thoughts and opinions. Follow me on all my social media handles at CPNYSports on X and Instagram. It has been the latest episode of the True Mets Talk podcast. I appreciate y'all being here with me. We will continue to monitor the Mets spring training updates and performances. We'll be going live tomorrow for a Mets vs. Nationals game recap on the channel. Tap in with me then. Until next time, it's your boy CP. I'm out.
Thank you for watching the True Mets Talk podcast. Make sure you're tapping on that notifications button and checking out all the latest content on the channel. Thank you.